Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce my colleague and dear friend, Nancy Bowman.
I retired in 2014 from full-time teaching. I continued to teach my trademark advanced anatomy class at Westlake High School, in fact, just completing my 5th year post-retirement. When I was teaching full-time, I probably averaged about 65 to 70 hours per week, and that was on-site. That does not count the number of hours that I put into my job at home on that free time that I should have had, but was devoted to my teaching. I thought when I retired, but was allowed the privilege of returning to teach my one trademark class, that my hours would be significantly less. And I want you to know that I put in about 45 to 50 hours a week, including Saturdays and an occasional Sunday, and I get paid for 10 hours per week. So, you know that if you're going to teach at any level, any subject, that if you're going to do justice to your students, this is what it requires. And you can either call me insane, or you can call me an incredibly generous person to give up all of that time. You know, but the byproduct of that is sitting in this room. I have 2 former students sitting at table number 5, Ryan and Malia. Ryan, a graduate of UCSD and will eventually enter nursing school. Malia, on the other hand, I could not turn. She will be at USC in the fall with a business major and a minor in nutrition. But, you know, the fruits of my labor are sitting over here at table number 1, Dr. Matt Zaff. Raise your hand, Matt. Class of 2000, graduate of Berkeley, went on to medical school and is now a practicing orthopedic surgeon in the Palm Springs area. And I had the privilege of having him write one of my letters of support. A few other people I want to mention. When I started the program, or I came up with the idea for my vision of advanced anatomy at Westlake High School, Mr. Kurt Love was the principal. And I went to Kurt and I said, Kurt, I have this really great idea, which people know me, know I have all these great ideas, and sometimes they're a bit wacko, but that's besides the point. And after listening to me very patiently, I don't know if you remember this, Kurt, but you said to me, Bo, you can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't cost me any money. So here we are, 27 years, 28 years later, and we are still fundraising thousands upon thousands of dollars to make this program run. But the benefit of that is pride and ownership, right? So it makes a huge difference to the kids that this is truly their program. And I'm going to give you just a brief education because, as Darren mentioned that word, cadavers, you know, we are like that program Bones on TV, or once was on TV, where my students are literally forensic pathologists, exploring the nitty-gritty details of the human body, but from the standpoint of what's wrong, what's not normal. So, we do a lot of dissection, it goes without saying, but we are, and I wrote an article at one time and it was entitled, We Are More Than Dissection. And I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit, so please bear with me. So here we are, 93, 94, 95, 96, dissecting. And I got bored, to be perfectly honest. But what I found in visiting medical school libraries, books written by doctors and nurses, and books on trauma and this and that. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's fascinating. I must buy these books. My students must read these books. So I bought a boatload of books. had my students read them, and it was not enough to read, but you have to write essays, correct? And then if you're going to assign all those essays to be written, you must read and grade them. And then after a couple of years with that, I got bored because I felt like an English teacher, and I never aspired to be an English teacher. So I said, what's the next step? Oh, well, all of my authors are living. So what if I could manage to track down all of these authors and encourage them to read my students' essays? One by one, I did that. It took years to get in contact with all of these authors, but I can tell you right now, every author reads my students' essays. And not only that, 3 to 4 of them per year are in the classroom as our guest speakers. So you just stretch your imagination a little bit and wonderful things happen. I even have a doctor who is a professor of journalism and pediatric medicine at NYU. Now, she wasn't able to come this year, but she sent a beautiful 2-page reply, personalized for the students. How wonderful is that? Okay, so one book in particular struck me, First Do No Harm, Medical Ethics, to save a life, not to save a life. How far are you going to push the envelope? So when I reached out to this particular author, this particular author, we actually had her come from New York, again, to speak to the students in class. But that book gave birth to Biomedical Ethics in Advanced Anatomy. And we have since adopted the book, Classic Cases in Medical Ethics, so we can talk about just about everything from an ethical standpoint of view as it relates to medicine and patient care. So, another thing, oh my gosh, what else can we do with that? Well, that book was written about patients in a hospital in Houston, Texas, Memorial Hermann Hospital. I managed to track down one person in Houston that would talk to me about medical ethics. And she gave me, when I visited Houston at one point, an hour of her time, and we developed a connection. And the next year we were doing a telecommunication conference with the chairperson, the vice chair, and a social worker who sat on their ethics committee from Houston all the way to Thousand Oaks. Thank goodness for the Civic Arts Plaza, who happened to have a fabulous telecommunication operation right there on site. So we did that for 2 years, and after 2 years I got bored again. And my boredom led to, I want to go to Houston. I want to take a tour of this hospital. I want to know everything there is to know about every aspect of medicine, and I want to see it firsthand. So I told my kids, you can stay or you can come with me. And for 4 years consecutively in the mid-2000s, I took a team of students from Westlake High School. We had the most fabulous tour, 2-day tour of Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston and MD Anderson Cancer Center. Unfortunately, after that 4th year, my contact retired, and so we had to retire that field trip to Houston. But that's okay, there were going to be more things to do. And what came next was a surprise thrown to us by the medical school that allocates the cadavers to us. It's not only were we required to document to create a formal pathology report and then present it to the medical school, but now they wanted the kids to come and actually do a live presentation. So on Tuesday of this past week, the 28th, my group of 27 students, divided into 5 groups, were there at Loma Linda University School of Medicine making this giant presentation about their pathological findings to the audience, which consisted of many of their parents as well as representatives from the medical school itself. And they did themselves proud because one of the compliments given to the students was that these presentations were just as good as our first-year med school students. No? Then there was a pause. Just as good as our 2nd and 3rd year med school students. So this is what we aspire to, and this is what I push the students towards. You begin the year dissecting, and and dissecting, with all this infusion of all of these other components to the class. But why do you dissect? So that you can give the most incredibly thorough report, whether it's one cause of death that you're reporting on and 23 additional findings, or whether it's 3 causes of death that you're reporting on and 8 additional findings. But you need to be as good as those medical school students, as confident in yourself as those students, as thorough in knowledge as those students, so that you can do the program in a very, very proud way. And so it is my privilege to continue to teach this class, putting in my 40 to 45 to 50 hours of pure joy. Because to spend time, all this time with those students, in my opinion, there's nothing better. Thank you to the Ventura County Educators Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me. I am very blessed by my students, the people that support me, particularly my husband, Gary D. Bowman, and my daughter, Shelby Bowman. I would not be up here if it were not for them. My husband, who always wished I would really retire, and one of these days I will, because I would like to know what it's actually all about. So thank you for your patience. My husband is also fond of saying that I probably have taken up too much time, but thank you very much.